Greetings, salutations, and other big words. My name's Ethan. My handle is Wrangler. Welcome to Frequency Studios, weekly wing it number 97 here on Rumble and YouTube. And starting it off over in the chat tonight is Christy. How's it going, Christy? And also joining us so far tonight is Fu Man Blue. What's up, Fu? Good to see you guys. No one else has filed in yet, but I do have something prepared to talk about. Yeah, I know. Weekly wing it. Prepared, kind of an oxymoron, but hey, I'm a moron as strong as an ox, so let's get to this. I have recently been doing research into the Amazon because I'm working on something for my current book, and I wanted to set something in a lost city in the Amazon. Now, up until very recently, it was thought that the Amazon was never actually all that inhabited. There's a few things holding it back from being so. I mean, they know that there were small groups or villages throughout the Amazon of tribe-like people that were there, but it was never thought that there were like lost cities or anything. And that was for a couple reasons. One is actually, believe it or not, contrary to popular belief, the Amazon does not have very fertile soil. See, here's the thing. You got all these trees and lush vegetation everywhere, and it looks like it would be prime real estate for growing stuff. But the thing is, it's that yellow soil that doesn't contain a whole lot of nutrients. And when it rains, it kind of flushes all the nutrients out of the soil, so you're wondering, how does it have all these big, lush vegetation and trees everywhere? That actually, believe it or not, comes from Africa. See, winds blow, the jet streams pick up a lot of dust and minerals from the deserts, and it comes over and deposits on the Amazon. And what the vegetation that is there sucks it all up pretty quick. So there's not much left in that soil. Not to mention with all the rainfall you get, it's constantly washing out what is there away. So farming seems to be no bueno. Secondly, people have searched the Amazon and they've found no signs of ancient cities or anything anywhere. Well, they did. They just didn't realize it. Because if you look at, say, Mesoamerican areas, you got all those ziggurats and old cities. And down along Peru, the Peruvian coastline, and especially along the mountains there, you got all these ziggurats and ruins of cities that were there that were made of stone. Well, when explorers were going along through the Amazon, they didn't realize that they were walking over the basins of cities that were once there, because they would build up all the earth and everything. And the thing is, they didn't have access to stone as much as the other areas of South America. And for those that did, they didn't really have the means of cutting it and stacking it like they did elsewhere. So they built it from mud brick and wood. And when the civilizations, what we think happened was the smallpox spread through there. When the people died off and the survivors moved away, that all rotted away. So when explorers were going through the Amazon, they would kind of go up a hill and across an area, and then the other side down. They thought it looked like a natural mound in the earth. What they didn't realize is they were walking along the basement or the base foundations of what was once cities, just like the Aztecs and the Mayans and all that. So they didn't realize it. Now, coming over to the ever reliable Wikipedia. Hang on, let me call up the present here, share screen. Okay. There's a guy named Francisco de Orellana who was a conquistador Spanish explorer. Before I go further, Star Fury has joined us. What's up, Star Fury? He says, down with the patriarchy, you racists. And then John A. Douglas is here as well. Hail, John A. Douglas. As well as Herman P. Hunter, the Lore Forge. And then they were attacked by cannibals. That's right. They're hungry. Welcome, Hedge. We're talking about lots of hedges, so you might like this. Okay, so over on the ever reliable Wikipedia, Francisco de Orellana, he was a conquistador who explored. He actually went all the way down the Amazon River. But one of the things that he had reported was finding one of these cities. And when he got back to Spain, he was telling everybody about it. There was this big city with all sorts of fruit, and I mean, they were well off, and they had everything they needed, and nobody believed him. See, what year was that? Let me go back over and double check. Hang on, I'm tab switching. In 1540, or no, that's when he arrived back in Spain. But it was in the 1500s that he had managed to go by boat all the way across down the Amazon River. And he reported that they found the city and nobody believed him. Well, a while later, he returned to the Amazon because he wanted to find it. And unfortunately, he never made it back from that trip. He went on and was presumed dead because nobody ever saw him again. Now, fast forward hundreds of years later to modern day, and we now have this thing called LiDAR, which is like radar, but with laser lights. And what they did is they went over the Amazon using LiDAR, and it pretty much digitally strips away all the vegetation to get a topographical look at the ground. And they ended up finding some pretty amazing stuff. Let me get to the proper tab. Oh, don't tell me I closed it. Yeah, I probably closed it. Hang on, let me call it back up. Okay. Images, share, boom. Here we go. Amazon LiDAR scans. They found that there were civilizations all over the place there. Basins for many cities. And one of the neatest looking ones is this one right here. Who built this? Yeah, they strip it away. Since it was all made of mud brick and wood, it rotted in those couple hundred years, leaving pretty much nothing for them to find until they started doing these LiDAR scans. And when they found it, they now realize there may have been at least a good 5 million people in interconnected cities in the Amazon. They had channels and causeways that connected them all. And it was just, what was this? Lucky you. Okay. Star Fury says, Fu Man Blue, I'm clearly famous with the YouTube algorithm. Yeah. How does that work? I still haven't figured out the algorithm. Actually, I tend to ignore the algorithm, and that's maybe to my own detriment. I just put up what I'm interested in and see what happens. Yeah, but it's looking like there were at least all sorts of civilizations across this. They're estimating at least 5 million people throughout the Amazon with interconnected successful cities that were happening until, well, like I said, the prevailing theory seems to be smallpox, because that did go through the rest of the known South American areas. And so, yeah, it's like there's so much down there, and they're expecting to find many, many more ruins. So, yeah, who built this? Check this out. Let me expand that. And they could not see it because it blended in so well, especially when covered in vegetation. So I'm doing this research on this stuff for what I'm working on with writing right now. And hopefully I can come up with some cool stuff. Now, there was most of this was released to the public. Billy Bobsack says, Dora the Explorer is hiding some dark secrets. Yeah, she is. But this started coming out in, I think, released to the public 2021, 22. They were discovering these things in the, I think 2018, 2019 is when the discoveries were first started being discovered. but it was released more to the public in just the last couple years. So apparently I'm digging into this at just the right time for what I'm working on. So, Billy, Dora wouldn't happen to be hiding a mugwai, would she, in her backpack? Christy says, spin that rickety wheel, little man. Yeah, actually, let me put on some music in the background while I think of more stuff to say to be entertaining. And overgrowth, that seems appropriate to what I'm talking about. I want to cool down a bit. There we go. Billy Bobsack pops in to save my butt. What's up, man?
What up?
Yeah, so have you ever seen this stuff before?
The what?
Have you ever seen this stuff, like the LiDAR stripping away all the vegetation from the Amazon digitally so they could see the topography? And they discovered all these lost cities that they thought never existed.
Doesn't surprise me. Big force.
Yeah. It's, I think it is the biggest in the world, isn't it?
Yeah. Should be.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, though, just figuring out LiDAR, because now they can just strip it all away digitally without actually harming the woods.
But how accurate would it be?
It's just topographical, and I actually listened to something earlier today about how accurate it was, and I can't remember. They gave the numbers, but it's good enough to figure out where basins were. I think one was recently uncovered.
Well, I think this is what I think I had a conversation with Otter and them last couple of days or something. Like the idea that we haven't been technologically advanced beforehand, just looking at the last, I don't know, 100 years of how much we've advanced so quickly.
Yeah. And if we did it, who's to say others hadn't? And natural disasters wipe a lot of stuff out.
Here's the thing: is like if we're however long humans have been on the earth, whether you're Christian or not, doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm pretty sure we've had gotten to advance before and then getting wiped out and then just keeps repeating over and over.
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I remember years ago, a teenager, I was in a youth group at a church. You had mentioned church, and the pastor had said they could do things that surprised us. Who knows how advanced they are? They may have even had computers that we don't know about. So, I mean, even preachers will say that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, how do I put this? You had people fight in the Civil War and then do an interview on live television. That is actually mind blowing when you think about it.
It is. Yeah, have you ever heard of the talk show host Mark Levin?
No.
Yeah. Well, he's an older guy, but his dad, who I think is still with us. I mean, he was at the time he mentioned this, which was 4 or 5 years ago, when maybe closer to 10. But he mentioned his dad hadn't spoken with a Civil War soldier. Now, his dad was a little kid at the time, and the Civil War soldier was elderly. But the fact that there are people alive today who have spoken with Civil War soldiers makes us realize how close that history really is to us still.
Right.
Star Fury says, I'm willing to bet there are many methodologies to achieve magnificent structures without the stuff we use today. We still don't understand how the pyramids were built. Yeah, and that's still hotly debated to this day. You're right, Star Fury.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it also has to do with how our society works now, where we actually care about, We got James. We actually care about and like somewhat take care of like workers and stuff. And then back then, they didn't really have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Is
yeah.
this,
I think that James, you were discussing this something along those lines. How people actually, whenever people mention slaves or workers back then, you think just cracking the whip and like beating them to death to get a result out of them. When really, no, they're like, I've invested in this guy. I want to make sure he's taken care of so he produces.
Yes. Also, is this the Soul Reaver soundtrack? Is this what we're listening to?
No, this is called Overgrowth from Super Metroid.
Interesting. Sounds real close to Soul Reaver. So what are we discussing today?
Lost cities that are beneath the Amazon rainforest.
Oh yes, I heard a tale of this. There was actually a traveler, I believe someone from Europe, who went through the Amazon rainforest, and he said he ran into all these different people groups and all these magnificent cities, and eventually somebody else went down that way.
This guy?
And I don't know his damn name. Maybe I just know the story. And eventually they would go down that way, and then there would be no cities, there would be no people groups. It's just overgrowth. And the theory is that he, unwittingly brought disease to the area, and it kind of wiped them all out.
Yeah,
that's just what I heard. But yeah, you hear about it. The Amazon's definitely an interesting subject.
it is.
Jesus. Let's go. Let me kill him.
Yeah, but this poor guy, Francisco de Orellana, everyone thought he was just making it up to try and get his name in the history books. Until a few short years ago, when they started doing those LiDAR scans and they realized, oh, he wasn't kidding. It took 500 years, but hey, vindication.
Yeah.
Now he's doing the Todd Howard meme. Who's laughing now?
Yeah. Too bad he had to be dead for centuries before someone said, yep, you were right.
That happens sometimes.
Kind of takes the satisfaction out of it. Before LiDAR was used, more than 20 years ago, initial research conducted by, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, Prumers and Carla James Betancourt, professor at the University of Bonn, found two mounts near a village of, oh, my Spanish is horrible, Casabre in Bolivia. Next to the mounds were traces that included causeways and canals that often led for kilometers in a dead straight line across the savannas. The researchers found that the Casabre culture, a nearby village, extended around 16,000 square kilometers, and the mounds were identified as eroded pyramid stumps and platform buildings. And that's the bummer, that they had to use mud brick instead of regular stone, because that just kind of erodes away, unlike the stones. So a lot of it was lost.
Yeah, so like low-grade material, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, when people are living there and can maintain it, it's fine. But when everybody dies off, because, as you said, the conquistador that was exploring it inadvertently made them all sick because he passed through and, bugs that their immune systems weren't used to. And they can't stay there anymore. They can't keep it up. It all just kind of erodes away. The jungle grows over it, and boom, it just looks like a hill.
Yeah.
See.
I'm sure.
However, the dense vegetation under these settlements Let me start that over. However, the dense vegetation under which these settlements were located prevented us from seeing the structural details of the monumental mounds and their surroundings, Betancourt said. LiDAR mapping revealed large squares in the settlement with stepped platforms topped by U-shaped structures, rectangular platform mounds, and conical pyramids. Passing canals connected the settlements and indicated a social fabric with at least one other settlement that could be found within 5 kilometers of each of the settlements known today. And yeah, they're probably still expecting to find lots and lots more because that's a big wooded area. And this article is by Peter Brown, and it was May 27th of 2022. So who knows what else they've found since then.
I'm sure that they must have made a few discoveries. I know that archaeology is a very fickle prospect, as there's a lot of boundaries that could keep one from digging, so to say.
Blue Man Blue says mud buildings are as disappointing as ice bullets.
I guess,
says, go ahead.
I guess everybody does think when you hear ancient civilization, they think like gigantic stone carved pyramids and stuff.
Yeah, because that's all we see anymore, because those are the ones that stuck around.
Yeah. A majority of them probably were not as such.
Yeah. Star Fury said Wrangler was he the man that talked about cities of gold? I don't know. I don't know if you're talking about like the fabled city of El Dorado. I don't know if that was him, but I do know he mentioned that they had food aplenty and lots of fruits and everything. Now, the other problem that people had with how were they doing this was the soil, because all the nutrients being washed out by the constant rain. The nutrients they do have is taken by the jet stream blown over from Africa, of all places, and it lands. All the vegetation sucks it up pretty much right away. Christy says that's Cortez. That was probably talking about the city of gold. And so they're wondering, how do they farm anything? Well, these guys were the original composters. They made something called terra preta, which is Portuguese, I think, for black earth. And they would use charcoal.
Hey, that's African American earth for you.
Okay, so it's an African American earth, and they would they would take charcoal, food scraps, whatever. They even shattered pottery, put it in there, and the charcoal help absorb a lot of this.
Yeah.
And at all these sites that they've gone to and started digging in, they have found this nice black, rich soil that's good for growing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they couldn't grow like big
fertilizer.
fields like we do, like monocropping. They're more like heavy-duty gardeners. But they had fruit trees and all sorts of stuff going. So, yeah, they knew sustainable agriculture. We're still not getting it right.
It's
And they
funny
already
too,
had it.
because last time I heard about the black soil, I hate to say it, but people were treating it like, because we hadn't unlocked its mystery yet, people were treating it like something from space and shit. And it's what we're doing now. Basically, it's just
Composting.
Yeah, it's composting. It works. Shit, biodegradable.
Yeah, and then lucky me, today I was driving around looking for something to listen to, and a new video from Thoughty2 was on there about this exact subject. And he was probably more research, because he does some serious digging for it. If you ever watched his videos, he pretty much has all his ducks in a row when he discusses something. And he said that it looks like what really was the magic ingredient was the charcoal, because that helps. It acts like a nutrient sponge and holds it in there. So, I mean, to this day, they're still finding the soil still contains nutrients in these areas. So they knew what they were doing. We're just barely figuring it out now. It made sense in my head, I promise. You know what? I should add that as a preamble to every sentence I ever speak. Star Fury says, there's also a lot of politics involved in archaeology. You can see how they deal with people like Graeme Hancock. I hope I pronounced that right.
Graham.
Okay.
What is his name? Oh, never mind.
who
I think he
challenged the
mentioned-
established understanding.
To be fair, Graham Hancock does come off like a whack job sometimes. Says a lot of shit.
Yeah,
He's
I
one
am
of
not
those-
familiar
yeah,
with him,
Yeah,
so
fair.
I can't say.
He's in the conspiracy theory sort of route.
Oh, so I'd probably get along well with him. Where's my tinfoil hat? I know I got a bunch around here somewhere. Regothalist. He's like, see what I did there? I know, it's pretty great. So what have you been working on, James?
Last couple days I've been more so reading and working, but I got a couple of short stories I got in the works. I'm thinking of starting like a fake radio station for the cyberpunk megacity of Whitlow, and get some AI tunes and fake DJs talking shit, reminiscent of the RPGs, but I'm sure they're still doing that for the RPGs. They come up with their fake radio stations, and it would also be a fun way of delivering lore and sorts. But I've also been, like I said, reading a lot, doing a lot of reading, and I've been getting into looking around Lovecraft, see who else writes something similar around the lines of. And I was checking out Clark Ashton Smith, who reminds me more so of Grimdark, as it's like, no matter what you do, evil's already won, sort of ordeal. It's like everything's just getting more dilapidated and destroyed over time, and this has got a lot. It's got a real grimdark setting going on. But I've started exploring this new fantasy character. Well, not new to me, very old fantasy character called Silver John, and he's listed as a old pulp character, but he's got a lot of very Lovecraftian stories, but it's got a Appalachian twist on it. Like all the stories take place in Appalachia, and it's like he just ends up helping out with a family who's got witch troubles and things like that nature. And he's kind of like a bard as well. They do mention bard in one of the tales I was reading. Got a guitar strapped to his back, and he plays on his silver strings. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. So if you want yourself a bit of like a Appalachian twist on Lovecraft, there's the Silver John series. There's apparently a lot of stories in it.
Interesting.
So yeah.
Going with that in-universe radio station ideas, maybe you could do also in-universe news articles, like type out what would look
Yeah,
like
I
a
already-
newspaper article.
I already had those like a year
Oh,
ago.
okay.
Yeah, those are years old already. I already kind of did those. Nobody read them clearly. Huh. Yeah, that was part of the magazine when I was doing everything. But I'm trying to find the appropriate way to bring people something they'd be willing to consume. And the literary word is good, but when you just deliver that in the sea of books, you need more to make it pop over time. So definitely exploring the audio area.
But yeah, you've done a lot with like especially the audio drama. You're doing some awesome work with that.
Yes, working on this new one, and there's like two routes I'm looking at. One of them's a faster and much more convenient route. One of them's a bigger headache, which one of them is clearly using more AI than people. One of them is more people than AI. And as much as everybody says, oh yeah, I want to use all voice actors and stuff, it's a real headache to both find the voice actors, give them the appropriate direction and time for each of them, and it's cost.
Oh, did his battery die? He just like mid-sentence dropped out from even down the line there. There he is.
All right. press the wrong button.
I've done that.
But yeah, what I'd like to do is get voice actors and layer over AI over their voices, so that way I can kind of generate the much more mellower and easygoing tones without having to take too much of other people's time. And then when it comes to the more dramatic sequences, you can actually bring in voice actors to get those done appropriately.
Yeah. I would imagine like the preference would be to have actual voice actors, but like you said, trying to get the right people, respect their time. Like you don't want to suck up all their time. And as indies, we don't exactly have mass amounts of resources to compensate them for all that time. So it's like we gotta like kind of have to trim the fat somewhere just to survive, unfortunately. Especially when you consider scheduling, you can't get everybody there when you would need them there at just the right time. Granted, different people, you could probably get lines recorded at different times, but if there's a conversation involved, it's not the same as having them there at that moment reacting to each other. Star Fury says, when anyone challenges the current idea that the earliest civilizations of 4000 BC is actually wrong, you get shouted down and called a conspiracy theorist or nut job. Yeah, science does have its own issue with politics, whether it's anthropology or even physics. It's like people have certain ideas and they go by these ideas and they build a career off of it. And then when someone comes up to challenge that idea, imagine you put in a lifetime of working on something just to find out near the end it's wrong. That's got to be a tough it's got to just like shatter your whole sense of being. It's like everything I've worked for was about this, and now this is incorrect.
But that's literally what science is all about.
Yeah.
Like if you go into the scientific field, that's what they basically teach you 101. It's like you're not there to prove an answer. You're there to just, what is the term? You're not there to get the answer to a question. You're there to question the answer.
Yep.
And
but the thing is, at this point, these guys are in positions of prestige and power, and that's probably why they say science advances one funeral at a time.
Well, what I was going to say is you're more so challenging an industry, which is what that is.
Yeah, that too. Fu says, damn this modern technology.
They're taking our jobs.
Ultimate Kahuna, good to see you, man. How you doing?
God, I was finally able to heal. Good shit.
What are you playing?
Morrowind.
I'll be back in a moment.
Alrighty. Hey, have a good night, Christy. Thanks for stopping in. And Christy sending hugs to Kahuna. Let's see. Kahuna says, I had a surprise show last night. If anybody has Brandon Sanderson, it may be worth a listen. Yeah. We go look that up. The Ultimate Kahuna. There we go. There we go, 22. I was pulling up the wrong page. Had stuff from like, was this a stream? Yes, it was a live stream. Cosmere Talk, Trust of the Emerald Sea. You know, I believe it or not, I have not read anything from Brandon Sanderson as of yet. Blue Man Blue says, partly it's the way we do science. With all the pressure to publish, there needs to be more money, so money can't stop making everyone act so lame. He corrects. Can, not can't. Okay. All right. So that stream Kahuna did last night. Copy. And it is in the chat. So check that out after the show. Also, Frederick's doing a comic stream tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's on with his friend to promote Minotaur comic that his friend's doing.
All right. I want to pull that comic up if I could find it. And he put a link over in Discord, I think.
All right.
Yes, Minotaur. All right. I'm assuming the link to that would be in there.
Hold up.
Yes,
We gotta
fun
do
my
something better. Hold up. We got to stream snipe them real quick. Hold up.
Go for it.
YouTube.
You snipe them while I work on the. Oops, I hate it when I do that. I opened it and then accidentally closed it. There we go.
Let's stream snipe them real quick.
So the bad guys, but he's got a good heart, so he's going to use those techniques for good in a way. But he does have contacts with the underworld.
Very cool. Dude, I had no idea you were so ridiculously talented. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let me bring on, we got Dr. Ben here. What's up, Dr. Ben?
What's going on? You're coming out. Bring your launch.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And Frederick, come on.
Hey, nice
Yeah.
to see you, Dr. Ben.
Frederick Lamont, an official member of the...
Yeah, I just wanted to let them know they were being stream sniped, but you beat me to it.
That's right.
Honestly, Frederick, I mean, this is your cherry's been popped now. If you ever want to come on the Commandos, this is you can just do it now.
Awesome. I will clip this out and use it as proof in the future.
And Dr. Ben, I want to apologize for my friend Pumpkin Man last night. Obviously, I can't tell people his real name because he's too busy fighting the status pigs in Russia.
All right. Make sure you click that pop. You know, we're now every time we introduce him, his cherry's gonna be popped. You know.
All right. Finding clips on a stream snipe. Nobody is safe to speak around you, Billy Bob.
That's right.
All right, let's see what it is. Minotaur number 1. 20 years after the world-shattering atomic war, the Soviet Union is locked tightly in brutal border war with the People's Republic of China, with no end in sight. The carnage of conflict blankets the Mongolian countryside. But the Chinese are least of the Red Army's concerns. Hideous mutated monsters roam the countryside, birthed from the radioactive fires of nuclear fallout. The Soviets that have survived their hellish assaults call them rad monsters. And see, does this... Check out some of this artwork. Yeah, these guys don't look all that cuddly, do they?
What are you talking about? You can pet one.
Cartman will go up to him with a rolled up newspaper. No, kitty, need my papa. Reports are spreading of a nightmarish creature, a legendary rad monster capable of wiping out an entire camp of fighting men in a single night. Intent on harnessing his lethal abilities for the war effort, Red Army Command dispatches their finest soldier to hunt down and capture the beast. Lieutenant something I can't pronounce, better known by his comrades as Minotaur, readily accepts the task set before him. See, what is it? Grigory Svidrigailov. No wonder they call him Minotaur. I guess this dude with the bald dude with the mustache would be him.
I think so. Yes.
But the Holy Mongolian Mountains hold a dark and terrible secret. It looks like a real Minotaur. Almost. Yeah. One that just may spell disaster for the Stoic Minotaur.
We gotta pull up the what's his name? I'm blanking on him. The 50-50. Wow, it's spelled disaster for you.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. The numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
And they spell disaster for you. I can't remember who it is. Anyway, I put the link to this Fund My comic in the chat. Let's see. You work as kahunas and Billy find him.
What?
I don't know. We kind of at this. I'm coming to Kahuna's comment a little late, so I've lost the context for what he was saying. Oh, I think it was when it might have been when you were stream sniping him, and I was pulling up the page.
No.
Let's see. Is there a? There is a video. All right. Check it out.
Extremely excited.
Looks good.
Yeah, it's kind of like Punisher meets the Apocalypse or something. Big old mutated monsters.
Good artwork. Good artwork. Terrible text at the end there. Like the stuff that was not correctly from the comic book. Yeah, I can tell that's like just learn to use Photoshop there.
You talking about in the video or?
Yeah.
Blue Man Blue says looks wild. Yeah, but James, you got quite a bit of experience with the video editing, so that stuff probably
Yeah, I know.
pops out to your eye much quicker. My ride is here. Batsaw says beep beep.
Very judgmental. Feel free to be judgmental back. I don't care. Actually look for it. I actually look for it.
Well, how could you not when you video edit it, what, pretty much all day?
All day, every other day. If not every day. I think I edited one video a day, and I got at least 2 videos to edit this week. One of them I'm editing tomorrow because it has to be out by freaking Halloween. And I edited a video yesterday as well. So yeah, just a lot of video editing all around.
Yeah, all my video editing, I'm not making much for videos to upload to YouTube other than the live streams right now because my computer is so bogged down, and every time I try and load, you know that detach audio feature in Clipchamp?
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to use that tanks the program. It's like it starts to do it, and then it's in a constant state of, working it, and then it never completes it. But if I try to export everything I did so far when I have that going on, it says Clipchamp experienced a problem and needs to close, and I lose all the work. It's just, and it's my computer. It's almost 5 years old. It's bogged down. And
Needs a new
so
hard drive.
until I get another computer, I'm probably not going to be doing much for video editing. So bummer, but is what it is. Once I replace it, I'll probably get back to doing full spoiler coverage on comics again, because I would like to do that. It's been a month since I put up a video, and I think the last thing I put up was a quick little movie review. It wasn't much. So I would like to get back to doing that along with the write. I'm glad to be back to the writing, but I would like to do some videos and actually get them up there and some
Yeah.
good comic book coverage videos. But until I got the equipment that isn't going to puke its own guts out for trying to do so, I can't really do it.
Yeah, the fuck is. I'm been attacked by a slug. Die, die. I will be doing a Rook's Exodus video with Tenkage and Frederick. That's gonna be fun.
Excellent. That sounded great. The Rook Sexes.
I was doing a little bit of research on something I never thought I would be researching. Saris, the drape cloth that Hindu women wear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, and because I was trying to figure out, I was working on a character. She's her dad was Persian, her mom was Hindu, so I was working on a couple characters. They're sisters, and one of them wears that when she goes to do it. She's a warrior woman. I'm like, what? How would a Hindu woman warrior dress, especially for a sci-fi fantasy setting? And so I'm looking through, trying to learn about the sari, and I guess there's a whole history to it and different reasons that they would wear it, and a whole bunch of different ways they can wear them. And I found one that was called the Warrior Princess Drape. It was pretty cool. I'm going to, hopefully I don't get pegged for it. I'm going to call it up on screen here. Let me get to my history.
You should
Because this is just neat
Why would
looking.
you get picked for it?
Somebody else's video.
Billy Bob, tell him the definition of peg.
Why not
Copyright.
use Ask Otter that.
It would really help if I hit the right tabs. There we go.
That-
What are we looking at?
It was pretty much a how-to, but I thought, yeah, that looks pretty cool
Yeah.
because she's got full range of motion and she's got like the end draped over each shoulder. So when thinking about it just visually, like when she moves, those would be trailing behind her. She's got the belt so she could hold stuff on it. So I don't know what color scheme she'll be wearing, but I like that style right there. So that I could probably make a good warrior chick out of that for a sci-fi.
Go for it.
Absolutely. Her weapon of choice will be the chakram.
The what?
Not familiar with the chakram?
Not that I can think of.
All right. I think when I show it to you, you'll recognize it. Give me 1 second. Okay, here we go. something like that.
Oh, okay. I know.
It's the whole outside is sharp. Actually, I think Xena used one of those in that show, right? Think she used to throw one of those around?
Yeah, something similar to it, at least. I don't know. I haven't seen it forever.
Yeah, but I figure I'll have her whip that thing around like Captain America whips his shield around when he hurls it like a disc or a frisbee. It ricochets everywhere. I'm not sure yet. It's supposed to be sharp, so I don't see it ricocheting as much as getting embedded in something. But she is superhuman and has training and everything. So yeah, her special ability is photokinesis.
The photokinesis.
Photokinesis. She can manipulate light. So if she doesn't want you to see her, she just doesn't let the light reach your eyes and you don't see her. Or she doesn't let any light reach your eyes and suddenly you think you're blind. So she could really mess with someone's head. Star Fury says her weapon of choice will be a chicken korma extra spicy.
Alright, I'll be right back real quick.
Alrighty. Fu Man Blue says, yeah, I could tell there was time put into it and wanted to let you know it shows. Backup weapon, the Karma Sutra. Yeah, so there are large ones, and then sometimes I was watching videos on use of the chakram, and sometimes there are like a lot of smaller ones that are used pretty much like throwing stars.
All right, interesting.
Yeah, they'll hold it, they'll pinch it and just throw it. It's like you got to be careful, or else you'll gash your own between the thumb and finger there. Yeah, I was watching demonstration videos of it. I'm like, this is really cool, but that's got to have a real high skill ceiling, because man,
Yeah, maybe they have some sort of special glove.
yeah. Of course, since mysticism is involved, you could actually I could have her doing things that typically wouldn't be possible and still have it somewhat believable. Wait, what's this off the? Oh,
Got a few
Xena's
of them there.
chakram.
Okay, so hers is that.
Yep. What was that weird? She used to like have some kind of battle cry.
Yeah, yeah. I believe it was inspired by like one of those Middle Eastern chants the females do.
Wow. But the chakram is a South Asian weapon, not Middle Eastern.
No,
But
but
I
the
think
chant,
some people-
the
The chant was.
it was is inspired by it.
Well, the character I'm working on is her dad was Persian and her mom was Hindu, so she'll be able to reach into both histories for stuff she does. Like I think I'm also gonna give her a falchion, because those are pretty popular with the Middle Easterns.
Righteous.
Let's see. Oh wait, lost track of where we were in the chat. And some of these things, I don't know if I want to read without context.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the chat. There's got to be careful down there. Just
I know the type of stuff I post when I'm in a chat, so I don't expect it to be any different when others are posting.
right.
Like nothing wrong with a little gash. Yeah. That could be taken more than one way. You're not allowed for that reason. You're mostly human. You can think whatever you like. Blue Man Blue says Star Fury is on point tonight. When is he not on point? He's Captain Garrett's gunner for a reason. Star Fury says, "How dare you cast such aspersions? I'm not half human. I am entirely a-hole."
That's right, Star Fury. Completely British.
Fu Man Blue says, "Slowest chat on the web, Wrangler. I seem to have lost track of the chat." Yeah, that's true. I don't exactly have the most quick moving chat, and I still lose track of it. I'm a slow reader. Sorry.
It sounded like someone was throwing up in the background for a bit.
No, it's an idiot playing with a dog in the other room.
Star Fury says, "I am pointed." Got all those Godzilla points.
Uh-oh, hold up.
Entirely through and through. Being British is interchangeable with a-hole. It might be a slow chat, but it is the best chat.
Hold up. And a couple more tracks.
Oh, what you got coming up for us, Billy?
Add an Oblivion soundtrack and a Pillars of Eternity one. Whew, I'm tired. Been a long day. That's right, Starfighter. We all know it. Also, Christian, you're supposed to get your fat ass on here, all right, boy?
Yeah, it's been a minute since he's been on the stream. Now he's just avoiding us.
Where am I at for battery? You know what? I don't trust it tonight.
Your battery. Well, that's technology for you. I know.
Yeah. It was at 100%. I unplugged it earlier. I take it outside. I was outside having a cigarette. 5 minutes later, I come back in. I plug it in, and the thing died. It says battery went dead. I'm like, it was only 5 minutes. But then again, it's very cold out tonight, so maybe that had something to do with it.
Maybe. Too cold, too hot seems to affect the battery.
So I'm going to cheat.
Hold up. Let me. What's going on here?
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Got to mute your other sound.
Josh.
Tried to get away from the computer. Sorry about that.
You may hear idiots in the background playing with the dog. That's what they sound like in their natural environment. It's like living in the Discovery Channel sometimes, really. You'd hear them. You probably use your imagination, but I guarantee you it's just a boy throwing a dog and being overly entertained. Oh, I say throwing a ball, watching a dog chase, not throwing the dog. It's actually quite the heavy dog. My mother the other day, the dog was barking at his little ball that got stuck underneath a shelf. So she bends down to go pick it up, and the dog, because he's a little Frenchie, he's actually quite heavy. It's like a good 20 pounds. Doesn't look it because he's so stout. But he jumps on her back, and then she actually ends up can't getting up on her own because the dog just weighs too damn much. Yeah, so she's calling me. I exit the room, and I just see her on the ground with the dang dog. halfway's on her, like his two paws are on her, and he has a ball in his mouth. So I just take the ball out of his mouth and I throw it, and he just scampers off. You can do the same thing to racists. Just got to throw something, they scamper off. They like chasing things. At least the Canadians.
No.
The Canadian racists.
You can always tell the Canadian ones because they're going, as they scamper off, they're going, sorry, sorry. That still cracked me up in Deadpool and Wolverine when the variant of Deadpool called Nice Pool. He he leaned into his Canadian accent and started every conversation with, sorry.
Uh-huh.
Then he got his head blown off.
Yeah, I was expecting him to come back at the end. I was bummed when he didn't. Yeah. So I watched a Clownfish TV video today, and Glenn Beck was talking about, how video games are bad.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, here we go again. I mean, Matt Walsh does it. Glenn Beck, I mean, he's never been fond of him. That's not new, but a lot of newer folk who are listening to him are probably a little surprised to hear that from him. But why is it that video games get such a bad rap when it's like, oh, if somebody plays video games, he's not a real man. It's like, but sitting on the couch watching someone else throw a ball around is better.
I think it comes down to just the over excessive amount of people who don't stop fucking playing video games and make it their central point of life choice. I mean, they get defined
goes
by
with everything, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because we all know folks that they'll watch sports all day. When they're at work, they talk nothing but sports stats, and then they'll go meet up with a whole bunch of people to play fantasy football. It's like, is that any better? I once heard a comedian say, I finally understand fantasy football. Fantasy football is Dungeons and Dragons for dudes who made fun of other dudes for playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I'm going to say it is better because it takes a lot less time out of your day. Like you said, he has a job. Most people who spend just as much time playing video games don't have jobs.
Think so?
I know a lot of them, unfortunately. And why do you think socialists love video games?
I didn't know they did.
Yeah. And let's also be honest, a fair amount of games are made for the exact purpose and with a lot of in-design detail to get people addicted to them. That was kind of the whole shtick with like everyone trying to make a game for 10 fucking years and you only playing that one game. Like I'm saying this as somebody that has been addicted to video games before. Like it's not good for you. And I get what they're saying and I understand where you're coming from. But to me, I'm in the middle. You want to play games? Cool. But it's not good for you. And you can be doing better things with your time in general.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong at all if you're getting out with the guys and throwing the ball around. That's awesome. But it seems like most guys that I've met, not all, but most who are into sports, just watch it and talk about it all day. They don't actually get out and participate in them, which is where the real worth comes from. It is the physical activity and stuff. Not that I'm out there being all physically active myself either. I mean, by the time I get out of work, I don't want to do a whole lot of physical activity once I get home. I've been doing it all day at work.
Yeah. Well, I'm not making any comparisons to anything else, just games in general. Like, think about it, man. How much time have you spent playing the game? And do you really not regret at least some of that fucking time? Like, you think, man, I can be doing something else. I should be doing something else. I'm quite addicted. And I think that's one thing I hate about this conversation is people can't talk about it in the middle. Like, yeah, a lot of people can actually get a lot of good stuff from video games, but a lot of those people barely leave their room. And we're seen as it is a stereotype in multiple facets of life that I'm running into. And that's the unemployed weed smoker who spends all day playing video games, getting high. And that's a horrific amount of young men that just
That you have a very good point there, because I do know people like that as well. I've always been like, how can you afford to sit there and play video games if you don't have a job? But you're right, there are people that do.
Yeah, mother pays for everything. Parents are not, they don't want to kick out the kid. But then the kid doesn't know any better. Maybe he's addicted. Maybe he just doesn't want to know any better. Sit around, play video games all day.
But moderation is definitely key on anything.
To all things. Too much water, you drown. Not enough, you dehydrate and die. Yeah, so I'd say moderation. And games is a difficult one because it's so easy just to sit there and blow away hour after hour after hour, And as you get older, it becomes easier. That's one thing they don't tell you that. And that's because as you get older, I think they call it time frames. So something I heard was like, when you're a child, you have more time frames, meaning an hour lasts a lot longer to you. When you're older, an hour doesn't seem so long. Time is being perceived completely differently.
Yes, it is.
It passes by sooner. That's like your mental capability of being able to judge time almost in a way. And when you get older, you play games. You can sit there for like 4 or 5 hours, and it feels like 2.
I honestly can't. After 20 minutes of playing a game, it's like I gotta hit pause and go do something for a while. I can't just sit there anymore. When I was a kid, I could have played for hours straight. Now I can barely make it an hour without getting ants in my pants. I was like, I gotta go do something.
And this is something I did do for myself. I think back at the possibly thousands of hours worth of investment in like a game. And I think, all right, look at my little video game character with all this shit on him. But how does that benefit me in the long run? I'm not sure it does. It's nice entertainment. But let's talk about the things you can also do besides playing video games. Before it was D&D. And I think it would be much more healthier. A bunch of people sitting around a table together instead of somebody sitting in the room by themselves all day.
That's one thing I do miss is the 2-player co-op.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I do remember that as well, having a good time at LAN parties.
See, in the chat, Star Fury says, "It's the jocks still flexing on the nerds. I fell into both camps. I loved sports when I was young, played for my country in several, but played all the latest video games with all my nerd friends too."
There was more chicks flexing on the nerds than there was jocks.
Yeah, because they know that they're the prize, so they could sit there and hold that over someone's head and lead them around. Fu Man Blue says, "I was an arcade gamer, but never had a console. We were poor."
Yeah.
But I loved the 3 seasons of football I played. I've still never worked that hard in my life.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to touch on there is the overlap. There is an overlap between jocks and nerds and maybe people who are related to nerds. And the stigma from the past, or I should say the way we look at it, is that the jocks would hate on all the nerds. But for most of the accounts that I've heard, it was more so of a chicks hating on the nerds. And the jocks would just kind of be a little confused by what you say. Like, okay, guy. And yeah, they'd also want to impress the chicks. So some of them would hate on the nerds to impress the chicks because the chicks didn't like. But let's be wholly honest: if the chicks get super mad at you hating on a nerd, they probably avoid that because they want to get laid.
Right?
They will get laid, and they want to get laid again.
Yeah. Star Fury says the real truth: the sports nerds are still nerds. They will quote sports stats just like nerds will argue over who would win 40K Space Marines or the Terminator. I always thought that video games would have gone a bit of a different direction than they went, though. I thought they would have ended up used more for simulator training for all sorts of different industry, and we never really saw that happen much.
I know we got a few, and who knows? Maybe a lot of industries do to a degree. They do got like their own personal simulators, but I don't know that it's as big as every single industry has one. Because I know race car drivers have one, NASA has one, the military has basically video games. I think there was a statistic where a majority of people would not shoot to kill in the military. It's only like a very few, but thanks to basically Call of Duty, it's kind of dealt with pretty like they're okay with just murdering now. They shoot to kill now, the soldiers, because they play Call of Duty.
Yeah, I guess it did kind of work with as far as like flight simulators and stuff. But I
Yeah.
thought we would have seen more of that for like training programs for, yeah, we're going to see how you do well on the simulator before you go out and do the real thing. And it worked a bit for like, I guess, racing because
Aircrafts, they use that for like
Yeah.
fighter pilots and stuff.
I think Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually used to play one of the NASCAR online games. And there was one kid that kept beating him. So he invited him out to the track and he ended up racing for him for a while.
Oh, okay.
But I
I know
mean,
that,
that's not the norm. That's
Yeah. Gran Turismo, they even made a movie about this years ago. They have done that a number of times where they will take their top players, they will put them head to head up against each other in real, on a real track, a real competition, and then the winner gets to go pro. They've done that at least 3 times, I believe.
yeah, which is neat to see. But again,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, those are the outliers, not the norm.
Yeah, true. And it's probably because there's just not a exact piece of software that's made specifically for that that's been adopted by any given industry. I'm sure if Adobe came out with something made specifically for simulators, you'd see a bit more of them. Movies have definitely probably picked up more from video games, and vice versa.
Yeah. Fu Man Blue says it's like me having schematics for the Enterprise, which I'm still trying to work on schematics for a fictional ship of my own. But
And I think that's partially why I think there's not as much hate from the jocks. At least not all of them, because a lot of them are nerds in themselves, and
but they're physically fit nerds, so they can get away with it.
well, everyone's a nerd about something or another. They're just the best way to say nerd, to be honest. It means that they're just interested. They're interested in this. That's a higher degree of interest, really. I believe in who was it? It was Dr. Seuss who coined the term nerd. I don't know.
Really?
Yes. That's
Huh.
The term nerd was first written in a Dr. Seuss book.
I didn't know that. I guess I'm not a good nerd.
Most people don't know that. Like, there's no such thing as like a nerd handbook. You just got to be into something to a decent degree.
Yeah. Star Fury says I play rugby from when I was 8 years old until my early 20s, and I have the broken body as proof. but I would not take back all those years of violence.
Yeah. And there's a lot of camaraderie in sports. Even if you're just the fan, you're meeting up with more people in real life. Like you're meeting them up at the bar. You got a social circle. You might even put some money down for some games, you know. There's like an entire ecosystem around it. And compared to games, I love my games, but most of the time when I played them, I'm just in the room by myself.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it's that social interaction that's the big threat, really, is well, that and time, with how much time you can easily sink in the games. And then you lack that heavy social interaction. And now look how much people are basically treating their phones, which I think at this point, phone addiction is just as bad as game addiction. Probably worse, actually, because everybody's got a phone. As big as the demographics for consoles, computer gaming are, it's nowhere large as phone demographics.
Yeah, and I have YouTube going as talk radio all day long while I'm at work.
Yeah,
So
and
I got my phone right there the whole time.
I
I don't
two
get off that thing until I'm home and working on something.
Right, I got two phones. One of them strictly used for media, and it's almost in use all the time. Both of them go with me everywhere. So, like, you know, it's got to the point where like it feels almost like you're slightly naked when you don't got your device on you. It's because it's just it's so useful for so many things, such a utility, and it's also, let's be honest, the number one way we're getting spied on right there.
Yeah. There's this one commercial that keeps popping up. Your phone may have spyware and malicious program that's watching your every move. I'm like,
Yeah,
I hear that commercial. I'm like, I thought that was a built-in feature nowadays. What are you talking about?
right? Yeah, exactly. And it's bad. It's like I'll be in my room. I'm like, oh, I better disconnect my my microphone. Don't want anyone hearing me. You know, it's like my camera's off, good, and my phone's just sitting there. I'm like, I think in the back of my head, oh, this thing's basically, you know, this thing's the one thing that picks up everything.
Yeah, I saw a meme once. It was 20 years ago. I'm afraid that the government might be wiretapping and listening in on us. Then fast forward modern day, some lady in her kitchen talking to her Echo Dot device there, saying, "Hey, wiretap, what's a good recipe for pancakes?"
Yeah, that's what those are basically for. Not the Alexas. Those are literally just speakers with an internet connection. That's all those are.
Yep. Star Fury says, "F Dr. Seuss, I blame you for the swirlies." Not the jocks. But they know their stats. And Star Fury responds, "I will get my revenge on those." Oh, that's me. That means me too. Because he was both jock and nerd at the same time. "I want to get my Nokia 3310 that way so I won't be tracked. GCHQ or NSA." Forgive my ignorance, but what's GCHQ? I know what NSA is, but
they're all tracking you, man. It's terrible, and you got to be careful what you put on your phone, because then you're just opening the door to more people tracking you. Like,
well, what the direction I was intending to go with the video game conversation is, why are some hobbies seen as legitimate and others as childish? But you pretty much already addressed that in what we were saying. Like, one thing that pops to mind is animation. I know a lot of people who say, like, I asked my dad, "Hey, do you like the show NCIS?" Because he watched it all the time. He's like, "Yeah." I said, "If they ran that show, the exact same show, nothing was different other than it was animated instead of live action, would you bother watching?" He goes, "No." Like, why is it not seen as a valid medium for storytelling? Why is it always associated with just for kids especially considering the original animation was not targeted at kids.
But the marketing was a lot of once it came into like zeitgeist, it entered everyone's home through children's entertainment here in the United States. And to this day, it's primarily consumed and advertised and broadcasted here in the United States to children and made for primarily children. It's a children's medium here in the U.S. That's simply it. And I do believe you can make an adult form out of it and like introduce it. And it's being introduced through anime. That's what it's been doing to the U.S. But
Right.
it's going to take some time. It's going to take probably like another 10 years. Give it like another 10 years. Say 10 years, you'll see some stuff popping up more from the West. 20 years, it's going to become the norm. Because it's already happening. You go to movie theaters and they're playing anime. That's where it begins. And it's already happening. So just give it some time. When you got more gray hair, watch. If you see people talking about anime. Because if you even think about the pulps, it's been less than like 30 years since literary professors decided to take pulp authors seriously. Like you go back 30 years ago, they'll be lifting their nose at the idea that somebody would give a literary lecture off of the works of Howard or Lovecraft. It's just like it takes time, and it's going to happen through people's natural want for it. Growing up is usually what causes that. People grow up into the roles where they can actually create these things they wanted as children. That's where we're getting a lot of stuff now. And possibly through the adoption of the universities, once the universities start taking it more seriously, maybe as a form of adding it into their various forms of teachings, which I'm sure to some degree it is, but all of it at this point through the universities is gonna like be wokeified to some degree. But with all those methodologies I think of, it's still gonna take like 10 years.
Yeah. Star Fury says GCHQ is where the NSA gets all their data feeds from the Brits. Gets all the data feed from. The Brits are the best at digital spying. Aren't we proud?
Well, Brits were once the best spies in the world, man, around World War II.
Now, guess about 100 years previous, weren't the French considered some of the best spies at that time period? I think
Possibly. They had a very big empire back in the day.
yeah, there's a lot of neat history with the French that people don't realize.
Yeah. That is with most kingdoms and peoples.
Star Fury says, if you look at Japan, Korea, and China, they do some amazing animated adult, not rude, entertainment.
That's where most of it comes from. But that's
Yes.
also,
Of course, our a-holes are always sneaky bastards.
if you really think about it, I really don't know if like Europe treats it much differently than we do over here in the West. Latin America kind of does because they had to import all their entertainment, so they imported some of it from Japan.
Star Fury says, French history, main concerns, retreat, and cheese.
They didn't retreat at the Battle of Verdun, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I guess like Latin American entertainment, a lot of their television, I don't know if it's still that way, but for a while, I guess it was mostly just soap operas.
Yeah, soap operas and imported TV. They made the soap operas. My phone's making noises.
YouTube didn't show your last comment in chat.
I'm gonna grab a bottle of water. I'll be right back.
Okay, and Fu Man Blue says, I get the cheese thing. I cheated. I had my water on standby. Coconut water. But I do find it interesting how there are a lot of things out there that are just as valid a medium as a standard, but it's got a reputation for being only for kids, even though it's valid for so much more. I've heard it said that Nintendo simultaneously saved and destroyed the video game industry because in the 80s, when the game industry was starting to die off, Nintendo came out with their Famicom, or I don't know if they did it in Japan, but over here in the US, they marketed it as specifically for kids. And that may have given video games the stigma of being kid stuff only. I don't know how true that is. Star Fury says, telenovelas. My Spanish mother loves them. Univision. I was talking to a guy. His parents were from Italy, or parents or grandparents, I'm not sure, were from Italy, and they didn't speak much English, but they would watch Univision all the time because they could understand enough Spanish for them to figure out what's going on, and so they watched that primarily instead of anything in English. Star Fury says, don't you get the retreat thing? They're French. Only the Italians are worse. Their tanks have 1 forward gear and 12 reverse gears. Yeah. For a while ago, there was that joke going around, hey, want to buy a French rifle? Never been fired, dropped only once. But I don't know if that stigma is still attached to the French, because just a few years ago, watching the news, the French were showing some serious backbone, especially against their government. I guess their government was pushing on them too hard, and they were all standing up going, no, and then the news stopped covering them because, I don't know, they're finally doing something kind of bold and awesome, and then the news looks the other way.
All right.
Hey, what do you know?
Now I got the dog in the room with me.
How's the doggo doing?
He's very hyperactive, seeking attention. Can't spend enough time with this guy because he just wants to spend more time.
Didn't you have him on your lap in a stream last week or something? He was just hanging out with you. Nice and calm at that time, though.
Yeah, as long as he scratches his belly, he'll be calm. He's a dog. He likes his belly. He likes his belly scratched.
Yeah, people say dogs don't really smile. It's like, rub their belly and tell me otherwise. You know?
He's not a licker, this one. That's good. A lot of dogs I had throughout the years, they be licking.
Yeah, back when I was a FedEx driver, I knew the names of more dogs on my route than I did people.
Oh, gosh. Oh, that must be
Star
it.
Fury says the French people have always been based. It's just their elites suck mightily. And who doesn't love having their belly scratched? Well, it depends. If I just ate, please no.
Yeah. So it's the dog life. It's very hectic, very time consuming. These animals.
Yeah.
I'm used to not having a dog for a while there, so I was happy.
By the way, what is the subject matter for tomorrow night on your stream?
We are doing a continuation of basically spooky and horror stuff. And we're going to be talking about fear and frights. If you watched the last stream, it was actually pretty good. People really enjoyed it. So we thought, hey, we'll be a day away from Halloween. It'll be Hallows Eve. It would be the perfect time to continue the conversation. We're continuing the conversation.
Halloween is Thursday, I believe, right?
Is it? Oh, yeah, that's the 31st, right? This time around?
I know that because tomorrow is Sana's birthday, and her birthday is 2 days before Halloween.
Okay, gotcha. I always hated the months with the extra day. I never really got it. Like is it really that important that we get them all on those exact perfect days? We can't just leave out that extra one. Like, we're just throwing those out. We're just going to subtract a little bit. It'll be fine. Nobody cares that.
It'll be fine.
We don't need days with 31. All right. Nobody needs it. But what about this? We'll be fine. Okay. No, it's not going to change your life miraculously. That
Nah,
doesn't
it'll be
hurt.
fine.
Yeah, that's what they do. I like 30 days in a month. If I ever conquer the world, that's going to be the first ruling. Only 30 days in all months. If you have a problem with this, you shouldn't, because it's not a big thing.
Fu Man Blues heading out. He says, okay, Starfleet is calling. Have a good week, guys. Have a great night, Fu. Thanks for coming in. And he says, salute. Yeah, if I become king of the world, the second thing I'm going to do is move all the clocks back to standard time and leave it there. No more switching them twice a year. I hate that crap.
Yeah, you'll realize yourself when it's getting early out, okay?
Yeah, I really can't stand that whole time change. Although I am looking forward to it. I'm like, last couple of years I thought we fell back to standard time in October, and I've been drowsy. I've been having trouble getting up and moving in the morning lately. I'm like, when is that hour time change coming so we could go back to real time? Because we're in daylight savings time now, and I don't understand the purpose of it because maybe because I lived in a tourist area in New England, but almost all the businesses had seasonal hours. They would change them seasonally. So what's the point in changing all the clocks when work is just going to change them on their own anyway? It just seemed a waste, and it was just made everybody cranky.
Just one of those things that they haven't gotten rid of for whatever reason. Who knows?
And Star Fury's got to call it a night as well. He says he's got work in the morning. Yeah, Star Fury, where he is, it's real late. I think it's early morning for him now. So have a good night, Star Fury. Thank you for stopping in. It was good to see you. Yeah. Well, yeah, that locking the clocks would be the second thing I do. The first thing I do is just get rid of the school buses because they piss me off. I'm a delivery driver, so of course I don't like school buses. They're in my way.
Good old school buses.
But I'm thinking of wrapping this one up early tonight, unless you got anything specific you want to discuss before we do.
No, I really don't have much. It's been a busy day today, like most people, and much more busyness ahead.
Alrighty. Well then, why don't you shout out your stream coming up and the projects you got going on?
Yes, we got a stream that's going to be up tomorrow at 3 o'clock California time. And you can find that at World Without End Lore on YouTube. And I'm working on some short stories. Just released a short story with a audio play script along with it. And you can find that for free at worldwithoutendlore.substack.com.
All right. Also, after James's stream tomorrow night, Frederick has his Proof of Comics stream. And later on that night, Kahuna, Bat Sauce, AC Pritchard, and Evele Music have their Iron Seas. I don't know what the subject matter they're discussing tomorrow night is, but that starts, I think, around 9:30, right? 9:30 Eastern.
I don't know. I don't really tune in after Frederick stream. I kind of check out.
Yeah, me too. But we have different. You have a earlier schedule in the morning than I do. Even though we got a 3-hour time difference, by the time I get off the stream, I got to hit the rack because I got to get up for work in the morning.
Yeah,
And you got to do the same because you get up your time much earlier than I do, I think.
Sometimes. I don't know. Are you up at 6 in the morning? 5?
About that, yeah.
Not much earlier.
Yeah. So yeah, tomorrow, Tuesdays are stream days. It started off as like
It's a lot of streaming.
like none of us had streams going, and everyone was like, no one's got streams going, so we all made Tuesday streams.
Yeah, it's one. I'm more so hosting like the Black Knight and RH Snow. They're the ones with all the great stuff and life experience to share. Great authors.
They have a lot to share too. They're just a wealth of knowledge.
They are. It's great to be able to gain what they have to share, and there's plenty of it. So join us tomorrow as we explore the realms of darkness, the deep circumferences of your mind, and see what makes the various authors tick and what inspires them to try to frighten their readers as we get ever closer to Halloween.
All right. And you can find my stuff on Amazon, Haley Star Bad Kitty and Bad Kitty Haley's World. They are on Amazon or anywhere you find books online. Also, you can find me on the X Twitter, Truth Social, and Minds under Frequency Studios, as well as Substack. I should have that short story coming out in the next week or two, which takes place 6 months after the second book. So you can check that out. It'll be up there for free. If you enjoyed this presentation, hit the like, and if you didn't, I appreciate you stopping by. We'll see you next time, and God bless. Buttons. There we go.
Jewish space laser.
Good night, everybody.